but so feel relaxed, even though it's a formal hearing. We appreciate you coming in and giving your time. So I'm going to actually hand over to Deputy Andrews just to start the initial questions, if that's okay.
Yep, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for being in attendance today, Kevin. I just wanted to start off by asking you a question in relation to the rates that you set your passengers who pay cash compared to those who pay card. And there's a differentiation in the rates that are charged, and some people have brought that to our attention in a number of submissions. So I just wanted to know, why is there a differentiation? And will that differentiation be maintained in the future as well?
Okay, so the intention is, yes, to maintain the differentiation. Yeah. The cash fare is set by ourselves, but we can't just introduce it. It has to be approved by the Minister. So each time there's a fare increase, the Minister has to approve it. So what we've done over the years is we've increased the cash fare because the cost of handling cash is expensive, trying to freeze many of the lower fares so people can switch to an easier payment form, but also get the savings of, if you look back, currently the cash fare is £2.80 single. You can get it on on pay-as-you-go on our own system for £2. The £2 fare cash was introduced 2015, 2016. So you can see that we've been trying to keep the fares as low as possible, and just by changing the way people pay, so trying to push them into a convenient for them, convenient for us, and cheaper for us to handle. Because if we get money in advance, we've got the money in advance, they're prepaying, so it's a loyalty scheme as well, isn't it? So we go into co-op, we might pay a little bit more, but we get 4% divvies back at the end of the year. So whilst we don't do the divvies back or anything like that, we do offer a discount on that cash fare.
Yeah. So have you seen a different trend, shall we say, since the changes have been implemented, when there's maybe been less cash being transacted?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go back to when we first started in 2013, we're a 100% cash business. It was all about the cash coming over the till. But part of the contract was to introduce a digital system so people could pay in different ways. So we started with our own card scheme, and by 2017 we were 60% was then on to a Vanchi card, 40% on cash. So, in just a few years, the switch was good because, there were savings and it was more convenient for people as people started to pay by different ways.
When you talk about the 60-40, do you differentiate between contactless and physical cash payments?
Contactless didn't come in until 2019.
2019?
Yeah, but by 2017, obviously, we had our own Vanchi cards.
Yeah.
And that was it moved to 60% Vanchi card, 40% cash. Now, yeah, that's still a significant amount of cash coming through the door. The catalyst was COVID.
Okay.
That was the catalyst for that complete change of cash falling to the floor, and under government instructions, do not accept cash. Okay. So we went down that line, but we were one of the first businesses to introduce cash back and bring cash back on bus. And that's because people were still wanting to pay cash. Yeah. But when we did that no cash on bus for COVID, we still accepted cash in the bus station. So we lowered the minimum amount you could put on a card, and we changed that so it was basically 2 single fares. So it was a £5. Unlike other places, we didn't charge for that initial card. No. So there was no barrier to entry as such. So we brought it down from a £10 minimum charge to £5. You look at places like TfL, for their Oyster card, they charge you £10 for the Oyster card. We've probably all got several Oyster cards that we're never going to get our £10 back on, because where are they? So we've never done that. No. So we did lower the barrier to entry onto the smart cards, and then since then, and since we've reintroduced it, initially cash went up because probably lots of people had cash that they needed to spend. They weren't going to the bank, but over the last 6 months, cash is now only 2.5% of our take-ins.
Okay.
And if I go back to this morning, I just went through the figures. January 22, it was 5.5% of our take-ins.
Okay.
July 22, 6%. So as the tourists come in, you see an influx of cash because people got a disposable income. They bring cash with them. They spend it. But as I say, this year, in the first 7 months, 2.5% of our take-ins is cash. Okay. So it's a very low percentage.
Is that on the bus when you're talking about, or in
On the bus? Yeah.
Is the front desk maybe more?
The front desk is it's higher, but the percentage is probably higher in cash in the front desk. But people will come in and they're not buying single tickets; they're buying their monthly passes, so they're getting their deal in advance.
You mentioned about cash being more expensive to administer. So what is the administrative cost when we say have one cash payment? Or is it more when you'll have to bank it?
Well, the administrative costs on cash is, you'll probably be quite surprised, but we have to pay the drivers each day to hand the cash in. So they take the cash, they pay it in. If I go back pre-COVID, we were paying them 5 minutes a day to pay in. Post-COVID, now they're still handling cash, so we pay them 3 minutes a day. Whilst that's not a lot, that's £40,000 a year just on driver payroll of paying cash into us.
Yeah.
We then have somebody to count the cash because we can't just send it off to the banks. So we then have somebody physically to count the cash, bag it up into individual bags. They put the notes into and separate them. Have to separate all Jersey money to UK money. So they've got to do that. So
Why do they have to separate the UK and Jersey?
Because the banks won't accept it any other way.
Right.
So it's all a case of, then you have to have it collected and banked. You can't just take bags of it off to the bank. So you have it collected, so you've got G4S to collect it. We've got a driver paying in machine, so they all have to pay it into a machine, so they get a digital receipt.
Yeah.
Then somebody's got to take it out of that machine and count it and separate it. You've got to buy the machine. The machine is currently end of life. The software finishes in October, so there's £30,000 for a new machine, just for the drivers to hand it in. And you've got coin sorters at the back end, and you've got note sorters. You've got annual maintenance costs. And then you've got the management time to make sure that all people are paying in the money when they should be, because that doesn't always happen. You would think it's quite simple. Driver takes £20, and the driver hands in £20. It doesn't work that way. No. So each time, that's got to be reconciled each week. So there's a lot of time. So without management time and reconciliation, there's £65,000 a year just in costs. Okay. And if you work that out to what we're taking in cash today, we're basically getting 72 pence in every pound. So you can see that the difference, which is why our lowest fare, which is a £2 single on a pay-as-you-go card, is actually better for us. Than, or as good as us taking cash.
Have you considered going cashless altogether?
We would need government approval for that. We mentioned it, and I think we were encouraged to take cash as soon as we practically could after COVID. And there's no appetite that I'm aware of to go cashless. No. Now, I think that would be great. We could go cashless tomorrow. It would be good for us. We wouldn't go cashless at the information desk. Because if people get paid in cash, they need to spend it, they want to catch a bus, then we can do that. But initially, on bus would be good. Guernsey have already gone cashless. They went cashless last year. Okay. As a matter of interest, because of the adding costs and because the revenue is actually the state's revenue, it's a different contract, they decided, well, let's just not have cash. And they didn't get any backlash from it.
No.
Okay. Can I ask about a differential? So it's probably, you talk about a discount for the Avanci card, but there is a differential between contactless and cash itself. So if you like, you're better off buying an Avanci card or buying a block of 10. It's £2 a fare. But it's £2.35, so it's already 35p extra for contactless.
Yep.
We could say that really is the base fare, and that the discount is for multiple purchases or preloading, and that there's actually a premium for using cash.
There is a premium for using cash. The cash is the base fare. That's what the minister approves. Yeah. The discounts we apply is on the base fare to contactless and then to pay as you go.
Yeah.
So the base fare is the cash fare, and that's what's approved by ministers.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're sensitive to, and that some of the submissions that we have highlight are the reasons for which people might use cash. So, for example, we've had a submission from the Community Savings Bank, which is in the public domain, and one of their concerns is to prevent marginalisation. So they've talked about many individuals in our community, particularly the elderly, those with limited technological proficiency. They depend on cash for their daily transactions. And so the question to you, I guess, is, though, although I understand that cash is more costly for you as a business to accept, is how you justify effectively a differentiation between those who may be obliged to use cash because they don't have access to digital means.
So if you go to community savings, I believe, or community side, they do a like a preloaded card that you can have. So I think having no access to digital on the majority of people, and just showing that we're only 2.5% cash now, and that's in the summer months when people have got disposable cash and they come over here, shows that that's probably unfair in a sense. Also, any of the elderly population have normally got a card because they've got a free concessionary card, so they're not paying for bus fares with cash. And if their card is out of date and they need to replace it, then it's come into town, get on the bus, and get a card quite quickly. There's no fee for replacing that card unless they continually lose them.
So let's think about. I mean, so I think the panel fully accepts that there are costs to handling cash, especially in your context. We might argue that there are lots of businesses in Jersey who still have to handle cash and who otherwise absorb that. We don't know of any other businesses which charge a premium to use cash for goods or services, but there may be some out there. If I were to put it to you, for example, that somebody travelling from the countryside who never comes to town, it might be a migrant worker in Jersey who gets paid in cash. They turn up to the bus stop with their £10 note, and they get on the bus. They're effectively being charged a 20% extra than somebody who's paying with a contactless card in a similar situation. Can you justify that expense in terms of a non-discrimination policy that
I think
that
what
you
you
might
can
have?
see is we can justify the discounts we apply for not using cash. Our base fare is £2.80, which is set by us and the minister. Yeah, that's what we've got approval. So we're not. What we're doing is not applying a discount because we've got reduced overheads when we come to card payments. So it's not a discriminatory fare. What we're doing is not applying a discount because of the cost of handling cash. We are getting 72 pence in every pound for every time somebody uses cash. So the discount. So what we're encouraging people to do is to utilise different means. We've introduced the app earlier this year, and we speak to a lot of migrant workers on island who come on island, 9-3 licenses, especially in hospitality, for whatever, and actually they're converting to the app. The app was only introduced in January for payments, and already we're at the same level of payments on the app as cash.
Yeah.
So you can see that we're offering as many different ways to offer as greater discounts as we can, because we've got to do what's best for the business. And also it streamlines the boarding. It can increase, handling cash. People haven't got the right fares. Then if the driver hasn't got the right change, we've got to issue a change voucher. So it's the hassle for them to go into Liberation Station. And we are very lucky in the sense of our operation is centred around St Helier, and you've got a very much hub and spoke operation. So the majority of people will come into town for a reason, and if they're in town, the station is open, 7:30 till 6:30, Monday to Friday, opens, similar hours on weekends. So I think the opportunity for people to change their product is probably better than most, and as for, other businesses not charging or not offering discounts on their cash to pay by card, people haven't got the same volume of cash going through their tills, etc. Even the likes of Co-op and if you go into Alliance, I went to Alliance not so long ago, can I have some cash back? Well, we've stopped doing that. We don't take enough cash. And it's those sorts of things that you just stand back and go, oh, right, okay, well, that's
Yeah.
fair enough. I understand they don't take enough cash, knowing our own business.
But so if you were to go to a pub and order a lemonade or a pint, or you ordering a sandwich from the market, and they said actually it's going to be 20% more if you pay with cash, would you be comfortable with that?
It is, if that's what they charge, then you choose to buy it or you don't.
But
There's more. So I'll give you.
There's no choice in Jersey for buses.
I'll give you a prime example. You know, my wife went to De Grucci yesterday, tried to pay cash. She had some birthday money.
Yeah.
Couldn't pay cash in De Grucci. Oh, not on this till. We've got one till that accepts cash. Now, it had an alternative. It wasn't more expensive.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of pubs out there at the moment and plenty of business out there who refuse to accept cash completely. We're not one of those.
But people can't go to another bus company, can they, in Jersey? It's either you or they.
No, they can't. It is us. You know, we are the state's bus operator, and you know, all I can say is that we offer that discount for not paying for cash, and I think that's a reasonable discount to offer, trying to make sure that we can keep the fares as low as we possibly can.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask you a question about car payments and how much that is for, say, one car payment for you as a business.
So it's about 2%.
About 2%?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's in the grand scheme. So even on your £2 transaction or £2.35 transactions, it's 2%.
2%.
So you know there's a lot of transactions, but if you weigh up our transactions, actually the majority of people take the opportunity to move to a Vanchi card. It's about a third of our. Yeah, about a third, 30 to 33%, and it fluctuates. Actually, in the winter, it goes down to 25%. So our locals, if you like, only 25% in the winter, 33% in the summer, are using debit cards. The rest of the people are all on a Vanchi card.
Okay.
So they're benefiting from those discounts from whether it's the monthly tickets or the pay-as-you-go tickets.
Yeah, yeah. And also with Liberty Bus, I just want to know a bit more about the ownership of Liberty Bus and the level of accountability to the minister as well. Because I know, for instance, you've mentioned about cash obviously still being taken, and if, say, the company was fully private, then usually they might say, well, look, let's go fully cashless because it's going to probably be better when we're looking at cheaper operational costs. So if you could maybe just elucidate the panel a bit more on that relationship between Liberty Bus and the government.
Well, the bus contract it's under contract. Actually, the tender is currently mid-flow, and a decision is to be made by the end of September, I believe, on to who the next bus operator is going to be. So, you know, we work under contract to the government.
Yeah.
The minister sets out what they want out of the bus service, and we operate it on your behalf. So, you know, yes, it's a private company. It's not been taken in-house, and it's not going to be taken in-house for the next 10 years. No. Looking at the tender that's just gone out, but you know, we are accountable to the minister. And if the minister come to us and said, "We need you to reduce the cash fare," it would be a cost to the public purse. Yeah. Anything that you introduce, such as the child fares, you know, the free child fares, etc., everything is a cost to the public purse upon that. You know, the bus contract is subsidised.
Yeah.
Value for money wise, you get a very good deal compared to bus companies in the UK and the way that's structured.
Yeah.
You'll see in the UK at the moment that all bus fares £2 single. The rest of it is being funded by UK government on top of any routes that are not commercially viable to operate.
Yeah.
So it's a huge cost. And if you look at TfL as a prime example for London, it costs them millions of pounds a year to run it because it runs continuously at a loss.
Okay.
But we've got to be making sure that we are a profitable business.
Absolutely.
But also, we're very conscious that we'll do a lot in the community to make sure that we're accessible for as many people. And if you weigh up, you know, when we took over in 2013, the passenger numbers were at 3.2 million. You know, 2019 we hit 5 million. Last year we hit 5 million again, and the numbers so far this year are growing. Yeah. So we are making the bus service as accessible as we can for everybody, keeping the fares as low as possible. And a monthly pass is £52 if you pay online.
Okay.
It was £52 for a commuter pass in 2012, which entitled you to a journey in the morning and a journey in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And you can travel all month for as long as you want to. So value for money wise, I think Jersey is doing very well out of what we inherited and how we developed the fares. And the more passengers we get on, if you've got to keep putting more buses on, but as long as you can utilise the resources you've got, that's why you can sort of do so much more for your money.
We also note as well from some of our submissions concerns about people, for instance, who cannot open a bank account, and obviously the effect that will have on them, for instance, when we're speaking about a transaction. So could you maybe just inform the panel about all the provisions that you have in place, for instance, with your cards, to ensure that those individuals can still access your services, even, for instance, if they cannot have a card?
So anybody is entitled to come up to Liberation Station and get a pay-as-you-go pass or a monthly pass. There's no sign-up fee for it.
No.
Hand it straight over the counter. Minimum to put on a pay-as-you-go is £5.
Yeah.
So in terms of cash fare, it's less than 2 journeys, £5, because it's £2.80 a fare currently.
Yeah.
But actually gives you 2.5 journeys on a pay-as-you-go. So it gives you more for your money. As I say, there's no barrier to entry other than you just need the initial £5.
Yeah.
For people who are going back to work and have been unemployed for a while, we've got a scheme in place that we've been running for a number of years with Back to Work, where we give them a discount on the initial purchase, even on pay-as-you-go.
Okay.
And we've also got many businesses now taking up schemes for staff, to give staff discounted travel. So we're working, including government.
Yeah, yeah. And what customer feedback have you received with all the services you have on offer regarding both cash and card transactions?
Well, we do an annual survey each year. This year we had 3,200 responses, and we haven't had any negative comments, because there's open dialogue in it. There's no negative comments in there shouting about it's terrible. There's a difference for cash and card.
Yeah.
So while some people may be vocal about that differential, people who are probably vocal probably doesn't affect them.
No.
It affects. They perceive it to affect other people.
Other people. Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is say, look, we've got lots of products out there. Come and talk to the guys in the station, and we can give you the best way to deal with it. We've got. We see the same people in the bus station all the time, and we've got some regulars, and even they've switched to pay. We've encouraged them to move from cash to pay as you go, because they're getting more for their money.
Yeah.
And that's, you can't do any more than you can lead a horse to water. You've just got to make them drink. And I think that the proof is that only 2.5% of people are now paying cash. We're making a lot of people drink that water. And the good thing is, we're not switching them all to debit card sales. Actually, sort of 2/3 of our customers are on our own Avanci products, which is telling you that's the best option, the best value. Everybody loves a bargain, don't they? We all love a bargain. So if you can get something cheaper, I know I'd be signing up to it. And I think we're probably all in the same mind now. If you ask us to put money in the box outside because somebody's collecting, we haven't got cash on us.
Can I ask what hours the front desk is open? So.
7:30 till 6:30 Monday to Friday.
Okay.
8:30 till 6 Saturday, and 9 till 6 Sunday.
And in terms of the topping up online for the Avanci card, how long do you allow for that?
It says online to allow 12 hours. It's normally through in a few hours.
Okay.
But but also the app is instant. So if you can top up on the app, then you can do a block of 10 journeys instantly on the app.
So I've got a couple of questions that I take your point about everyone loves a bargain. My concern would be to ask how those who just don't have a bank account and who don't need to come to town, for example, you could have somebody who lives First Tower who works at the airport, or they live at St. Wands and they need to go to St. Aubin or First Tower on a regular basis, no interest or need to come to town. They don't have a bank account for whatever reason. How do those discounts help them?
The discounts will only help if you can come into town, or you can, I say, even if you download the app, you would need to pay by card. So we can only do so much, yeah, and we encourage people to come. When you look at the numbers, I think you'll find that we've done a lot in the time that we've been operating, and to push people from cash, well, not push people from cash, but to get that move from cash to card, and only 2.5% being cash these days, I think we've done as much as we possibly can. Other than having, what we don't want to do is allow top-ups on bus. If you allow a top-up on bus, it just slows everybody's journey down. As you can appreciate that wouldn't be the ideal scenario. But then all of a sudden, then you're accepting more and more cash, and actually the cost is going up. So I think we've done a lot to encourage people to move. And yes, the occasional journey, but if somebody's travelling every day, then we get a lot of people go, well, okay, well, if I make that journey into town, then I can come into town and I can buy a card. So given the examples, I think for the initial perhaps £2.80 into town, they will save themselves far more than that in days rather than weeks or months.
Okay.
You mentioned about the tendering process being out at the moment. Are there going to be discussions about going cashless with the Minister? Because again, it seems it would probably be more efficient for Liberty Bus to probably go that route.
The tender sets out the fares and doesn't give you an opportunity to change from that structure.
No.
But whoever the successful bidder is, hopefully it's us, then those conversations could take place. But the appetite has to be from government to move.
Yeah.
We as a business have got some set costs, and I would love to get rid of £65,000 worth of cost each year.
Yeah.
But the cash fare is the fare that the Minister controls. So I think that's more of a question for the Minister on whether they've got an appetite to move to cashless.
Yeah.
But we will, as the operator, we were asked to remove cash during COVID.
Yeah.
We were asked as soon as you can you put it back in? We did so.
Yeah.
We work under contract to you, so that ball is firmly in your court to make that final decision.
Yeah.
Would you look at, have you looked at maybe technology that you could use at the bus station which would basically accept cash and then issue tickets automatically?
We've looked at technology in the bus station for the next tender. Actually, as part of it, if you look at that, it didn't say that it had to accept cash, and actually, you're not getting very many machines that are accepting cash anymore. Even if you go into a supermarket now, if you're scanning yourself, it doesn't accept cash anymore. It's all going away and moving to card payment.
Okay. What do you think? So I suppose to lead on from that, if it's the case that in the next few years, so we're going to speak to government. If government says we're going to continue with the acceptance of cash, and that there's an option, of course, for government to stipulate that cash businesses must accept cash. There's an option that government just may do nothing and leave businesses decide. If we continue for the foreseeable future in a hybrid system where people can generally pay for things with card and cash is still used to a greater or lesser extent, what do you think what do you think the implications would be for you if you're required to take cash, for example?
I mean, I think it's
would you continue pretty much as you are?
We probably would continue. There will be a difference in price because as I say, to get 72 pence in the pound, and the less cash that's being used, the greater that cost is going to be to us. The cost is really at the bottom of where it can be now. The cost, it's costing us. We can't say we can only accept cash on certain buses, which means I've got to pay every single driver that time each day to pay their money in. I've then got to have somebody to administer it. I've got to have the machines in place. So it's either a complete cut-off or we may as well accept cash. But if we've seen the decline in 2 years to go from 5.5% down to 2.5%, if that decline continues and we're down to 1%, actually that every penny in the pound we get is going to just go down. So, but if the minister says we have to accept cash, then we have to accept cash. And remember that we don't put it up more than RPI. So, our overall fares just remain as close to RPI or less, and every year our overall increase has been less than RPI throughout our tenure.
Okay. So I don't think I've got any more questions on this theme.
I just wanted to ask you about any other businesses that you are aware of who have differentiation in the rates that they charge between, say, cash and card in Jersey.
In fairness, no, I really don't know of any.
Yeah.
It depends on the volumes. You go into co-op, etc. Then no, there is no difference.
No.
But you can probably get served a lot quicker if you're paying card in supermarkets than if you're queuing behind somebody and you want to pay cash.
Cash, yeah.
Is it an economy of scale for you because you're really receiving so little cash that the
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you know what the crossover point was? At which point that changed?
I don't, to be honest. I can come back to you on it, but
Okay, it's not imperative, but I guess it becomes well, a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't, if people are paying with less cash or you're accepting it less, then the costs of banking that small amount go up, don't they? Could you talk to us a little bit about what happened from the experience of COVID? So one of the themes that have come out in submissions is that there is an element of hygiene to do with handling cash as well. Is that been a consideration for you?
So when COVID happened, we were told, right, don't accept cash, it's hygiene. So we straight away, lots of protocol got put in place. The reason we continued to accept cash at the bus station is because it was very limited on how much was being coming in, and the staff at the bus station at each time had a facility to go and wash their hands after each transaction. Give everybody disposable gloves, etc. So antibacterial spray. So all the drivers had that all the time. And there's actually one driver still out there who continues to wear gloves. Only one, but he continues to wear gloves every day, ever since COVID. But that cost, yes, initially that cost was high for us, but for us to stop the spread of disease, then it was a necessity.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't like handling cash anymore. It was convenient to get away from it, and you see some of the money you pick up, and we're all washing our hands a lot more than we ever used to, I think, after handling cash. But
So if we accept for now that you just have to pay more for a cash fare with your bus company, and in the foreseeable future you're going to continue to take cash because that's the way the government wants to continue it. Can I run through a practical scenario with you? So this is based on a true.
I just want to take you back a sec. You continue to pay less for card payments rather than more for cash.
Okay. Can we agree that it's semantics? I think
it might be semantics, but the fare that is set by government is the cash fare.
Yeah.
We offer a discount.
Okay.
I know it's semantics, but
if X is less than Y, then Y is more than X. I think we can agree on that. So last week I was on the bus. I paid contactless. I have used Avanci in the car, and I would normally if I'm regularly using it. Someone behind me actually produced a £10 £10 note. The bus driver said, "Sorry, I don't have any change." The first question is it usual for bus drivers not to have change?
So each driver has a float. Yeah. But if you get the first £10 and somebody wipes your float out, then it's gone. So what we introduced during COVID, as soon as we brought cash back, was change vouchers because we stopped it giving change.
Okay.
So we issue change vouchers. So whilst he doesn't have change, he can have a change voucher with it and go to the bus station and pick up their change.
Okay. What are the options for you in future to resolve that kind of issue? Are there, if you're obliged to take cash and...
I think your issue is actually the less cash you take, you only need one £10 note to wipe out your float. Whereas when we used to take a lot of cash, 3 customers in, you'd have enough money for your change, and all of a sudden your change would start to go around. So that has been a considerable challenge for us. So how much float do you give somebody? How much cash do you give them? Okay, well, do we give you £10, £20, £50?
Yeah.
To make sure that, in the till in the bus station, we've got £150 float. I can't go and hand 100 bus drivers £150 float and keep that change when the cash they're taking is like 2.5% of our takings. So we've got to be realistic in that, hence the reason for the change vouchers.
Yeah.
To try and sort of encourage people to get on with the right money, number one. And number two, if the driver has run out of change, then there's an option for them to go and get change at the bus station. That didn't used to happen. That's something new. And if a driver 10, 20 pence short of change, normally the customer would probably say, don't worry about it. We're not saying that's right, hence the reason why we've introduced the change voucher so they can get their change.
And is the change voucher still available?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Been available since we've reintroduced on COVID and we've not taken it away, and they're regularly used.
Yeah. That's not what happened in this case, but
They should have, but it's please send me the details outside of this hearing.
I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but I think your driver did the honourable thing and let the person on for free. So it's,
There you go.
is there an option maybe to say have a bunch of Avanci cards behind with a preloaded £10 and say, look, if you want to, you can have this in exchange for your £10, and then
If the driver loses that, it's his responsibility. So if I said to the driver, right, there's 10 cards, he's got £100 on him. If he loses those cards, yeah, he's responsible for those cards. That's something that we would need a discussion with the unions on.
But if he loses the cash, he's also
whether they would be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But in 11 and a half years, we've not had too many instances where we've been requested for that. We've thought about it, but it's that, do you give somebody £100 to look after and take responsibility of that day in, day out?
But they could have a £100 float equally, couldn't they?
But they don't have that much float. If they choose to carry more float, it's normally out of their own money. We give them a base float.
Okay, so you're looking at options for.
We've always looked at options, and we've always sort of refrained from giving them cards.
Yeah.
Purely because of, if they lose them, it's their responsibility, and that's cash, because you can't stop a card being used until it's registered with somebody. As soon as those cards are printed and loaded, they're live, they can be used, but unless they're registered, we can't stop them.
Okay. Good. Any questions at this point?
No, not from me. No.
I think those are all the questions we've got on this. Have you got any questions for us or any thoughts about? As I said, we will be making findings and recommendations, not specifically about you and the way it affects Liberty Bus, but generally about cash in the economy.
No, only from my own experience here. There are so many places now that do not accept cash at all. Bars, restaurants. It's probably getting more and more each day.
Yeah.
If I'm honest. And I think De Crucis was a prime example. Yes, they've actually accepting cash on one till, but not the other in the same building. But supermarkets, you can say exactly the same, can't you? So I think it's just some people don't want to accept it. Most of us will embrace the technology and enjoy the convenience it gives us, apart from when your phone runs out of charge, which is not always a good thing.
Yeah, indeed. Kevin, thank you for your time. We appreciate you coming in for this hearing. I think we found it very useful, and I hope it wasn't. I hope it was a